Today, we are joined by Michael Ohene Efa. He is the co-founder of Lead a Freak International, one of our main resource persons and guests who will be passing through this month of June. Looking forward to also crowning the month with our Man Cave Fest. You can join in the conversation, share a link so another person can be blessed by this conversation that we are having. And he is touching on the man and building meaningful relationships. Mr. Hoinefa, it's been a while.
Yes, so
I think the last time was Start Right.
Yes,
when we had you on air.
It's been very hectic after that. Trying to chase some dollars.
The dollars are good. But it's good to have you in the studio with us today. Remember, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. You can join us on our Unfiltered Fatherhood conversation today. I'm wondering, what was going through your mind when we called you and said we are dedicating the month of June to men, to fathers? What was going through your mind, Mr. Hoinefa?
Well, I commend the station. I think the first thing was these guys get it. Because the conversations about men, about fathers, I think it is not as loud, it's not as pronounced and celebrated as that of the mothers. And so I like it when we begin to focus on men, bring that into the conversations that we are having. So I think it's the right way to go, and I'm fully supportive of the move.
Thank you so much. And it's always great to have the support of Michael Ohene Efa. And I know there's something that's very dear to your heart, which has to do with a man and his relationships, which is one of the things we are discussing with you for this month. And I would like to give you the floor. But first, let us know what do you believe are the essential relationships of every man or father?
Well, this is the way I look at it. I learned this years ago when I was, I think I was a student, and we were introduced into networking, the kind of networks to have, and there was a framework that was given to us. I've done further reading on it, and so this is the way I see it. First of all, I think that the first relationship that we need to have or build, and I like the word build, because building indicates intentionality. Building means a very deliberate effort or process. The first relationship is with ourselves. That's the intra-relationship. Now, a lot of us do not know ourselves. A lot of us do not commune properly with ourselves. And so there are some things, unresolved things in our lives that we haven't quite settled or resolved, and that then plays out in the outer relationship that we have with other people. And so in this month, when we are placing the emphasis on men, I encourage all men to build a relationship with themselves, to begin to resolve a lot of unresolved issues. A lot of people grew up in not so pleasant circumstances. Most people grew up in blended families that were not functional, that were not supportive and helpful. And today, yes, you found Christ, and by the grace of God, you are burning and on fire. But those things are like wires. You don't see them, but they exist. And so, what is the quality of your relationship with yourself? Your thoughts, your inner dialogues, your value, your self-worth. What is the value of that? What do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? What do you say to yourself in your quietest of moments? That's the first relationship we need to build. Now, that's a whole topic, so I wouldn't want to go into it. The second one is our relationship with God, our Maker, the Creator. Now, what is the health of that relationship? Through prayer, through reading the Word of God and fellowshipping with other believers, you build that relationship. Now, would you say that relationship is healthy? And what would you want to do about it this year? Luckily, these conversations are happening around June. We have played the first half of the game. Like the Black Stars showed us last night. You might be down during the first half, but you can re-strategize and recover during the second half. And so I like it. These conversations are strategically positioned in the middle of the year. So it allows us to recover, re-strategize, and then do better for the next 6 months. And so if you know that the state of a relationship with God is not that healthy, then take remedial measures. Then the third one is relationship with our loved ones, the people close to us. The first one, of course, if it's your spouse, if you are married, if you are in a relationship with your love. So once again, what is the state of that relationship? And what do you want to do about it? Now, after the relationship with your spouse, if you have kids, what is the relationship with your children? What is the relationship with your parents? What is the relationship with your siblings? These are our closest relationships, and you need to know the health of that and then take remedial measures. It is only when you have done with these close relationships that you come to the outer relationships, the relationship with your friends, your acquaintances, your neighbors, your wider community, church folks, old students, and all those other, your colleagues at work and all those other. So this is the order. First with yourself, with God, with your loved ones, and then with the wider community.
Fantastic. And can we delve into the self one today, Ms. Michael? Or which one are we doing today?
Which we'll touch on bits of all of them.
Okay. Okay.
Let me go a bit deeper. So if you are listening to us and you are not driving, I want you to just take a pen or paper and draw 3 circles. Yeah, so if you are not driving, you just draw circles.
Please, are the only the men?
Oh,
because I just picked my pen back. Let me ask you.
The primary audience are the men, but women are allowed.
Okay, please, we'll be watching as you draw the circles. All right, please go ahead.
In the spirit of love, women are allowed to also join in the conversation. Sure. But draw 3 circles. I mean, a smaller one, a slightly bigger one, and then a very big one, which is the outer one. So place yourself inside the circle. Now, the first one after, the slightly bigger one after your inner one is your inner circle. Your inner circle. So who would you consider? Who is in your inner circle? And this is a model that Jesus the Christ himself showed us when he came on earth. He had the 3 that when it was critical, when he needed to do something which was very sensitive, he always went to the 3. Then there were the 12. And then after he died, we got to know that there was actually 5,000 disciples who were part of his entourage, and yet their names were never mentioned. So 3, 12, 5,000. And I think that model works, and it is also backed by psychology. So your 3 is your inner circle, the people closest to you. Who are these people? Are they giving you positive energy, or they drain your energy? Is that relationship meaningful? Is it valuable? Does it help you in your life's course or your life's mission? So list the names and then check. Now, if some of them, the people that are in your inner circle, are draining your energy and are not adding to your life, then you need to take some remedial measures. You know what to do. You need to reduce contact hours with these people, or you need to bring them to the next circle, which is the middle circle. Now, the middle circle typically will be people that either you work with, people that either you live with, people that, you do some stuff with. The contact is not as close as the first one, but it's very considerable. So once again, put some names there. Who are the people in your middle circle? And then finally is the outer one. This will be, acquaintances, old friends, probably neighbors and stuff like that. So you relate with them, but it's not as deep and it's not as widely connected as the first 2. So wisdom is in sitting down and then categorizing these things and saying, which ones do I need to move where? For instance, there may be some people in your inner circle that are not helping your life's course. You need to move them to the middle circle by reducing your investment of time, energy, and attention in those relationships. And then there are some people that that anytime you relate with them, they give you positive energy. You leave them inspired, motivated, and energized. And yet you are not investing in those relationships. Currently, they may be in the middle circle or the outer one. So now you need to move them in and say, I must be deliberate in this relationship so that I can derive the best from them. All right. So
fantastic.
Close, middle, outer.
Okay.
That's how you categorize it.
This is Sunny 88.7 FM. We are with Michael Ohinifa. He's the co founder of Leader Freak International, talking about building meaningful relationships. And I think we've touched on the qualities, if I'm right, or yeah, to do that, the qualities of the meaningful relationships. But how can we start to also cultivate those qualities in our own relationships even better than we've done already?
Great question. I'll just say two, and the word is in the question: meaningful relationships. So the first quality is that every relationship must have a meaning,
Okay.
and then two, a value. So at this stage of our lives, you need to be very deliberate with your relationships. Don't just see people, some people attend a wedding, they meet somebody there, next 2 weeks, they are their best friends.
Oh, they meet at some spot to be.
Exactly. The next day, they are your best friend. Some people have 10 best friends. So at this stage, we must be strategic with our relationships. And so the two, that what will determine whether something is a meaningful relationship are these two: meaning and value. So do you derive meaning from that relationship? Does it leave you energized, motivated, and inspired? And then value. Do you contribute value, and do you get value from the relationship? So these are your yardsticks for even how you do the circles: meaning and value. Now, the value must be mutual. If it is one-sided, then you need to review it. So is the other person deriving value from their relationship with you? And are you also deriving value from your relationship with the other person? And then is it meaningful? Now, meaning is that it should be about your life's goals and your life's mission. And so if there are relationships that do not help you, that there are relationships that detract from your life's mission, then you need to be careful. You need to be careful. For instance, there are some friends who don't help you to live a valued life. When you say, oh, let's do, Charlie, forget about it. You have friends and you say, oh, it's late, I need to be home because wifey will, forget about women nowadays.
Are you the only one who's married?
When you have those kinds of things, you need to watch it, because that's how it starts. They start planting these kinds of seeds. And then if you don't prune it, it begins to grow and germinate. And these are the people that you say, oh, I've had a little tiff with my wife. Oh, Charlie, women there, if you don't, they will over you. Those kinds of conversations begin to then grow. By the time you realize they've led you astray. So meaning and value. How do you measure these two in all the relationships that you have? These are the qualities that make any relationship positive.
I want to take you back to the part where you talked about the kind of relationship one has with themselves, and how can a man know that he has been able to get to the point of having a healthy relationship with himself, and if he has figured out that the relationship I have with myself is not healthy, how can they make changes?
Well, the assessment is one. Pay attention. So let's give a very simple way to do it. Pay attention to your inner dialogue every day. Psychologists say we have between 35,000 to 60,000 thoughts every day. So check the quality of your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself? How do you value yourself? What is your own estimate of your self-worth? Pay attention to that. Some people come across as very confident, very loving, but when they are alone, what they tell themselves is nothing healthy, nothing valuable. So check the quality of those things. That is the point at which you begin to see that you have a good relationship with yourself. If your own self-worth is healthy, then you have a good relationship with yourself. Now, to get out of that, you need professional help.
Okay.
You need professional help. You need to work with a professional, a psychologist, to help you to get out of that. You need a coach, a life coach, to help you to get out of this. So seek help. And I'm a member of the Association of Coaching Practitioners Ghana. Okay. We have a website. If you go there are a number of coaches you can work with to be able to have a very good relationship with yourself. Please don't try and do that alone. You will not be able to have the effective tools to deal with those things. And if there are some past unresolved things, then you need to seek that professional help to be able to resolve those past stuff.
But Michael, It's believed that men are not too open to finding or to receiving professional help. Is this accurate, what I hear in the atmosphere?
It is. You are very right. I work as a development consultant by day, and by night and by weekends, I work as a speaker and a coach, and I support a number of people. And you are very right. I find that we are reluctant to seek professional help. The only professionals that Ghanaians like to work with are lawyers and to some extent, maybe engineers.
Yeah.
The other professionals, we are very reluctant. It is also from a certain past branding. For instance, when you tell somebody, I'm going to see a psychiatrist, and the immediate
Lost it.
exactly. It's like, Charlie, why? What they go on? So,
When you're stable, cry.
and if you are not lucky, your friends will even allow you to give them a lift because they will think you may crash the car. So that is the branding that these kinds of professionals have been given. And so we are reluctant, to seek those kinds of help. And so we bottle things in, and then we find distractions to give us momentary pleasure and distraction out of inner needs that have not been resolved. And that is killing a lot of people. So please, today, if you are listening and you know you have some issues, and a lot of the time when I come here, people call. And when they call and you give them assignment, they don't come back because they want you to do the assignment for them, And so, yes, we need to deal with the inner man. We need to deal with the person. And this is especially for men. Men are reluctant to go for help. Men are reluctant to open up. Men are reluctant to be vulnerable because we've grown up with this macho image of a man, Bemonsu, and so we have this macho image of a man. The man should be able to, take everything in, and you can't. You are only human. Even Jesus the Christ at some point went to cry. There was so much bottled emotions that he had to let it out. And yet we mortal men think that we can handle a lot of the life challenges that is thrown at us. So please, yes, it is good to have friends, and friends contribute to our positive relationships. But when you think that the thing, and let me use today's balance, when the thing has overed you, when you have issues that you know that there's one, I promise, so I can't handle it, please seek professional help. Go on the website of the Association of Coaching Professionals and connect with a life coach who will help you to go through the challenges that you are facing.
So, Michael, you mentioned a very important word, vulnerability, and we get that a lot with women. With the men, Ebua, some way. But what role does vulnerability and emotional expression play in building strong relationships for men, for fathers, whether it's with their spouses, with their children, and how can men work to develop these skills to better connect with their loved ones? Yes.
That's another important question too. You see, the courage to be vulnerable is an important ingredient in the formation of positive relationships. We need to learn to be vulnerable before we can get better. And I liken it to a seed. When you sow a seed, first it disintegrates. It has to get rotten before a new one can come out of that seed. A new one can germinate and then become a tree. And then we all see very nicely. Without the disintegration, a new seed can never come out. You see, so if you are unwilling to be vulnerable to heal, the new man can't come out. Now, it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. So, in fact, if you are not vulnerable, you are not courageous. Yes.
You're going to have to say that again because it's sort of preached the other way around.
No. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage for you to open up your innermost thoughts, feelings, fears to a second person, even if that person is your spouse. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And so in this man, when we are having these conversations, my charge to men is for us to develop the courage to be vulnerable, develop the courage to open up the real self to especially our partners and then the significant people in our inner circle. Because you see, this is how I see it, and I say this when I run seminars. You see, when you go to a doctor and you don't tell him the real ailment, he will give you a wrong medicine.
Yeah.
You see, when you have toothache and you say, oh, it's some small sorby on your, he will give you an ointment which will not resolve the toothache. So if you are not vulnerable, as I said, if the seed does not disintegrate, the new one won't emerge. So if you are not vulnerable to open up to people, and you use, do you know that shyness is a form of pride?
It is.
Yes.
One would think it's some kind of humility.
No, it's not. It's a form of
pride.
Because why are you shy? Because you don't want people to see the other side of you. You understand? So this thing where we bottle things up, and then when it has become too excessive, we then try and seek distractions. And for men who are not saved in alcohol, in other things, those are momentary distractions. It doesn't solve anything.
How is this breaking homes, the momentary distractions, when men are avoiding actually tackling a problem that is at hand or a trauma they've had?
It's a major hammer that is destroying relationships. Because as I said, those are not the real solutions to the problem. They are momentary. They are transitory. They are, what's the other word? You went to a good school. Please give me good words.
I think we'll have to call on Letitia at this point.
They are temporary. Mm-hmm. They are temporary things, you see. So it may give you a temporary solution for 3 days, for weeks, for months, but you have not solved it at the foundational level. Mm. The foundational level is to gather the courage to do self-disclosure and to have difficult conversations. The courage to have a difficult conversation and say, you know what, I'm dealing with these things. Now, this is the way I say, sometimes you can disclose a fact without disclosing the emotions behind the fact. And a lot of us are having those kinds of things and think we have resolved it. Because let me give you an example. So
I was going to ask you for one.
You have, let's say, a very bad patch or a very bad disagreement with your boss in the office. So you come home and you say, honey, or however you call your wife. Some people have very serious names for their spouses.
Wild ones we can say.
So, and today we had a meeting, and me and however you call your boss, me and my boss, we had this very shouting match. It wasn't good at all, and that's a disclosure of a fact. Now, how did that make you feel? What are the emotions you are now going through because of that fact? A lot of the time, the conversations don't get past the disclosure of the fact. And so, okay, now that we've had this disagreement, and looking at my boss and the way he's vindictive, I'm afraid that he's going to give me a very bad appraisal, this coming appraisal cycle. I am now very vulnerable. I think he might even move me out of the department to another place because he wouldn't want to work with me. So now when I go to the office, I'm very anxious. Anytime I'm opening an email and I think it's from him, you see, this is the disclosure of the emotions behind the fact. And so we need to gather the courage to do both. That once you are disclosing facts, you are also having the deeper conversations of the underlying emotions, underlying trauma behind some of the things that are happening to us. Honey, we have just received email from HR that they are going to do some redundancy. I'm not all that okay. I think I'm a bit anxious. If you don't disclose this emotion, chances are you are going to go through the day, the weeks, even your relationship with your children are going to change because you are going through something that you haven't verbalized, you haven't communicated with the other person.
So it's more like they don't understand the depths of what you're trying to say. Or I wonder if we should say trying to say, because probably I'm not saying everything.
You are not saying everything. You are not communicating what you really want to communicate. And so you become very, you become very curt. You become very, your children's really now when they come, you shout at them for no reason. And you are feeling guilty later on because you know they haven't done anything, but you don't really want to. When they come and say, "Daddy, let's play football," or "Let's play someone," go. I'm reading the newspaper, and really, that's not what you wanted to say to the children. But you are going through something that you haven't yet verbalized. And that is now showing off in the way, even food, you are not eating that well, you are not sleeping that well. You wake up at 1 a.m., your eyes are out of 5. You are going and you are still not talking, you are still not communicating. That is why I am charging us to have the courage to be vulnerable, to disclose the emotions behind the events and the things that happen to us. So, because you see, they say a problem shared is what? Half solved. Because how do you want to elicit understanding from your spouse and from the people close to you in your inner circle when you are not communicating what you are going through? And so, yes, we may have the surface conversations, but the underlying things. There's been some restructuring in the office. I've been moved from my department to another department because they say, but I'm not feeling too confident. And the atmosphere, the new team, I'm yet to gel with them because their former head of department had a different leadership style from me. So I'm feeling very inadequate in going to fill in his shoes. I'm feeling very anxious about a new role. I'm not too technically competent. I have to read a lot. These are things you are going through and yet you are not sharing them. You only disclose the fact that you have moved departments. And so then we are not, getting you because you have not disclosed the emotions behind that. And we need to gather the courage to be able to go behind or beyond the surface conversations, to have difficult conversations that reveal the real us.
Wow. Michael Hinafa right here on the I'm Drive. Getting to some messages. We're live and interactive. You can comment below. And Irabna Manan Ewo says, Michael Ohiniafa is a great teacher. Thank you for mentoring me during DFID days. God bless you. And Irabna says, wow, every relationship must have a meaning and value. And we should have the courage to be vulnerable. These are some comments coming through. And this message is sort of connected to yesterday. Let me just go through. It says, JJD, good morning. Yesterday, a lady was in my car while listening to the father's conversation on air. She recounted her experiences with her father, how loving and understanding and cool he was. That there was overly being strict, and their dad being the complete opposite. That was their mom, being overly strict, beating, shouting, and their dad being the complete opposite. Until date, after their father's passing, that is she and her siblings, still cherish their time with their dead dad than the mom who is still alive. Michael, you work with young children a lot, and I just want to sort of connect today's conversation with this. What have you seen to be the impact of relationships like this, like what this young lady is talking about having with their father, on the youth, the young children, in becoming men themselves, tomorrow's father?
No, I don't think society recognizes the impact of what happens to us during our formative years on our adult lives. Now, this is what psychologists say. Your life's habits, your worldview, your behaviors, and who you are as a person, in fact, actually were formed before you were 7 years. And so the way we relate, the way we rear our children is extremely important for who they become in their adult lives. In fact, everything that we are and will do and will be able to achieve depends on the experiences we had when we were young. And so we need to understand this and actually have a national initiative to change the way we are relating at home. I call these the softer sides of development. Unfortunately, they don't find themselves in our national discourse. We are talking about schools and hospitals and roads and bridges.
Yes, trains.
And yet, the software that is going to operate that hardware of infrastructure hardly finds expression in the national conversations. So the lady is right. Her life's experiences and everything that she knows and will be was formed by the kind of positive relationship she had with her dad. And that is what has formed her. So the mother missed the good opportunity to connect and to bond when they were much younger. And now they are having a hard time connecting. Well, both of them, that is, she and her siblings and their mom, could have an honest, open, deeper conversation. So the suggestion, if they can have a weekend with her, they should and say, "Mom, you know what? We find it difficult to relate with you because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, because of this and this and that, this is how we feel now towards you. We want to repair. In going forward, this is what we suggest we do together."
Okay.
So that difficult conversation must first be had, where they once again go beyond the fact and then deal with the emotions beyond the fact. And I think they can repair. In fact, they can have a very loving relationship with their mom if they are committed to repairing it. But it's so important. I've used this analogy several times. You know, when they are building, they have what they cast the concrete. So they will mix the concrete, then they will pour it. You know, when they pour it, before the concrete hardens and sets, they can do anything with that concrete. But after 21 days, when that concrete had hardened and set, to do anything now, they need hammer. And they must hit hard to be able to chop off. So it is the same thing with our children. What you are doing with them every day, you are pouring the concrete. Whilst they are young, before they turn 13, you have the opportunity to shape that relationship. When you don't do that, and you continue to do the hey ha, after 13 years, when that concrete has set and hardened,
They will
you need a
ha
hammer.
you.
Yes, you need a
You need a
hammer
hammer then.
to now begin to chop things off. So we have let's stop the shouting. We whose summer comes every August, and the children say they don't like the shouting.
Don't like it.
It's their number one thing.
Children.
Please, if you are doing it at home, repent.
One time my son was like, "Why are you shouting?"
So if you are doing it at home, repent. It is hurting them. It is robbing them of their self-worth.
Okay.
And the worst part of this is that the children will become like the parents, because that is the wiring that you are wiring. So your grandchildren will also come and face the same thing from your act of
The
commission.
cycle continues.
That's right.
So I have a message, Michael. This one says, ask Michael how a wife can help a man who is going through stress but refuses to open up and rather seeks solace in distractions that are not helping the marriage. Anytime you bring up the issue, it turns into a huge argument. Michael, what do you do? What does a woman do?
Great question. Well, there are a number of things happening. Some men are naturally closed because they have never been in tune with their emotions. When they were children, they were told never to express emotion. Some of us grew up in homes where you were beaten, and you were beaten for crying, for being beaten. So they'll beat you, and when you cry, they say for crying you are beaten again. And so we're told to bottle up. And over time, and a lot of parents will bear me, over time, when you hit these children, they don't cry. They stand and take it. Yes, they've learned to bottle up the emotion, and then they grow with it. So they are unexpressive because they are afraid, because they, in their adult mind, they are still hearing the parents saying, if you cry, I'll beat you. And so they never open up. They are always afraid of exposing their inner. So one, if you are a wife of a man, like, and I'm using the beating just for illustration. Every person's whatever will be different. And so some people were not beaten, but they were just shouted at for expressing their emotions. And some men were, this Berman thing of men are not supposed to be vulnerable, men are not supposed to show any emotion. And so we grew up like that. Now, first of all, as the wife, what has been your past reactions to when he has expressed emotions? That's the first thing. So when you overreact, when your spouse shows an emotion, then you bottle it up further. So the wife will have to learn effective listening without overreacting. That's the first thing. To give that man the confidence to continue to open up to you. There are times when people open up and they are not looking for advice. And I used to be told this by Letitia that I'm not looking for, I just want you to listen. So there are times when people open up, they are not looking for advice, they are not looking for scolding, they are not looking for anything. They just want you to listen. Now, there's something, Lisa sometimes will say, just venting. So basically, just listen. Don't say, I don't need any action or reaction from
No
you.
motivational
No,
quotes.
nothing. No motivational
No
quotes.
step 1, 2, 3.
No memory verse.
Okay.
Just listen. Just listen. So we need to, and it's an art. You have to actually practice it to develop it. The skill of really listening to people without judgment. So that's the first thing. A lot of us, and this one is the feminine gender. This one is the wives. When men try to open up their hands, I told you, when you're going to do this, I told you, didn't listen. You see, this your
and you can't even joke small about it. You can't joke about it.
Yeah, so that's the first thing we need to learn to. And then you can also create the atmosphere for your partner to open up without losing face.
Okay.
Now, the two of you are in the boat. It is important for the health of the marriage that these things are not bottled out. And so sometimes you can also say, look, can we have a meeting? If you like, drive him out of the house. Go to a neutral place, a place that's convenient, conducive for a conversation. Say, Charlie, I've been observing and I think you are stressed. I see that you are not sleeping well. I see your lost appetite. I can feel it that you are not this. I've been praying about it and I want you to talk to me. I'm ready to listen. And give a posture of somebody who wants to listen. Just keep quiet and let him talk. And if he doesn't, try it again. Try it 3 times. He will open up when he sees that you genuinely want to, listen without judgment, without letting him feel stupid, without letting him feel guilty, just listening. And when you listen, invite a response. Say, okay, so what do you want us to do together about this problem? What can I do? What can you also do? Now, when you create that positive environment, it's easier now for a man to open up and try to be vulnerable. But where there's a retort, there's a this, that, and then they're quick trying to find a solution. No, sometimes we just, a man just wants somebody who will listen and then invite a solution together. Yeah.
Okay, Ado, I've seen your message. I'll get back to you. This one says, hello, JJD. Thank you so much for this conversation. I want to know how to handle my husband who doesn't want to go beyond the surface conversations. Whenever I try to delve deeper, he says I'm intimidating. What do I do, please? Would you say you've responded to this or there's more?
The same thing
Yes,
applies.
says I'm intimidating.
Please, when the man feels it means that you need to watch your posture. You need to watch your posture. I don't know physically how you try to listen, but when you stand, maybe he's trying to wear his shoe and you stand above him. I want to hear you. I see you are in trouble and you don't, you this Kofi for they say, So if that is the posture, then he will feel intimidated and will not want to. A lot of the time, as I said, it takes courage for one to be vulnerable. And this courage, you will master it if the surrounding circumstances themselves are not.
It feels hostile.
Exactly.
All right. This one says, great show as always. If a parent is learning these things well after their children have passed the 7-year mark, what can that parent do, Michael?
Reset.
Reset?
Yeah, reset.
Can you give us a few tips on resetting?
Well, resetting, this is what I advise parents to do. Children are shocked when you tell them that you've been wrong.
They are?
Yeah, they are shocked. When you call a child and say, you know what, I've just learned that I've not been a great mom to you. I've been shouting at you guys. I've been hitting you. I've been doing this. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to shout again. I don't want to hit you again. We are going to work together now in a new atmosphere in this house, and you will help me to do that. Anytime you see me wanting to hit or to shout, and agree a call sign with the children. You are going to do this so that it will put me in check.
Okay.
Now, these are also the things you do that make me shout. Can you also stop it? So you work on an agreement, a social contract between you and your children.
Yeah.
But that, once again, that courage to tell your children that I've been wrong and I want you to forgive me. It's once again courage. And you'll be shocked at the response from your children. If you can cry. Let the children see you cry, that you're actually remorseful for your past conduct, and agree the atmosphere you collectively want to create at home. And you'll be shocked at the response.
This one says, one day after a serious coding session on the children, our Father in heaven rebuked me. He says, one of the analogies he gave me that hit me was he compared the children to a building project. If a house under construction is crooked or faulty, we don't blame the house ever.
Yeah.
We look at two things, the builder, the building materials. I'll stop here to keep it short.
Awesome.
All right, so that's mommy. And okay, this one says, wow, that formative years. It was mentioned yesterday, 0 to 6 are most important. Says, please, JD, don't even joke about it. I hear you. So we can't joke about the fact that some catch you. Please, I've heard, I believe the ladies too have. At the moment, when we feel vulnerable, a feeling we never want to have, don't even joke about the mistake we have made. Oh, I'm laughing. Let me be serious. Let me read this message again. Okay, so the men are saying when they're feeling vulnerable, a feeling they never want to have, don't even joke about the mistake they've made. But you see, now I'm serious. Michael is the one laughing. So forgive us when once in a while we do small joke. But this one's JDD Ampao. Growing up, my parents shouted a lot. So now my adult life, whoever shouts at me in any situation, I'll go diplomatic rouge on you. Oh, that's not right here. And this one says, Michael knows the real problem of Ghana, but saying it in a very low key. The difference between the software and hardware combination to ensure development is the missing knowledge with Ghana. We have only been concentrating mainly on the hardware, and this ensures slow growth and sometimes short-term output or wasted effort. I think I saw a WhatsApp on my phone. Let me quickly pull that out, and I'll be wrapping up with Michael this morning. This one's JJD. This is insightful. I'm stuck in my car listening. Let me just quickly check what's happening on Facebook if we have some more comments there, and then I can wrap up with Michael. So Joy Sarah Mnyavo says, I, on the contrary, did not have a good relationship with my dad. I'm trying to clean that bad memory by doing the right thing I should have done to my dad if he were available to my adopted father. My question is, by my doing so, does it help take my pain away?
Well, you might want to work with a professional to deal with the pain, but you are doing very well on the outside with the actions that you are taking, but it is not enough. There are some deep wirings that need to be rewired and reconnected, but you would have to work with a professional to be able to fully get out of that long years of stored pain.
Thank you very much, Michael. I think we can wrap up, and I'd like you to share a few words as we wrap up this morning.
Okay, let me wrap up this way. There's a book by a lady called Bronnie Ware. She wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Now, Bronnie Ware is a palliative nurse, meaning that she worked in a hospital where people were brought to die. And so she spent, the last 3 months, 9 months, 6 months of people's dying. And these were people who were brought there, they knew they were going to go. And after years of working with such people, when they came to spend the last years of their lives in her home, she collected all her conversations and distilled them into what she called the top 5 regrets of the dying. When people were at that point of their lives where they knew they were going to go, what is it that they regretted not doing before they left this world? Now, these are the 5. And I want us all to work with this because you have the opportunity of you living and not committing these 5 regrets. Number 1, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And she says this was the most common regret of all people. Now, when people realize that they are going, they realize they wish they had been true to themselves and not lived the life that others expected of them. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Now, this, she says, majority came from men who spent all their lives in the office And at the point where they were now going, realized that actually they should have had more relationship than just the relationship with their office. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Once again, back to what we just said. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the last regret is, I wish I had let myself be happier. Yeah, I wish I had let myself be happier. So the courage to live true to yourself, the courage, the wish that you had not worked so hard, but make time for other more important things in your life, the courage to express your true feelings, to stay in touch with friends, the things that truly matter, and then to let yourself be happier. These are the top 5 regrets of the dying. Don't wait until you have 4 months to live before you start living life. Start today, because your relationships have a positive impact on the overall outcome of your life.